So I just want to let you know about the events we have at Ubud still this week. On Thursday we have Bali Bunkos on how to declutter your life. So if you want to do that and get rid of all of your stuff and just get organized, come to this Bali Bunkos and bring one piece of clothing, because we're going to learn how to fold.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then we have also fuck up nights, where we're going to talk about our failures on Thursday. So please come to that. And it costs 60 early bird, and at the door it costs 80. It's a really cool event, and I think we have that every 3 months, and it always turns out really cool because we have to celebrate our failures instead of hiding them. And yeah, I think that's it. And yeah, now we're gonna learn about creating your own reality consciously. That's great. Okay, I'm out.
Thank you. Okay, hello everybody. Before anything, I'm going to just take this is scrap paper, so just take a piece of paper, each one of you, and pass on the rest. We're going to talk about creating your own reality. I've done this talk in different ways up until now. This is a new formula a little bit, because I'm realizing as I go forward, trying to understand how this works. I realize that it's not just about the law of attraction. I realize that it's not just about visualizing. I realize that it's not just about brain education. And it's not just religious beliefs. It's a mix, it's an entanglement of everything. But rarely is that entanglement being shown to us, because it's way too complex to really explain it. I'm going to try to do it in 1 hour. It's going to be a little bit messy at some points. I'm warning you, but you shouldn't get out of here without understanding it. So stop me if it gets messy, and I'll try to untangle it if I can. That little paper is so that you take 1 minute, maybe 2, quiet your mind. To quiet your mind, and we're going to do it at the end of the session. We have here a big meditator, and I'm happy and honored to have Punu here. He's one of the people who changed my life. So I shouldn't be talking about meditation in front of him, because it's like, but you know. So yeah, before to quiet our mind, what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 conscious breaths. Okay, we do have to close our eyes, because if you have your eyes open, information is coming from the outside and you cannot quiet your mind. So we're going to quiet our mind, and we're going to take 3 conscious breaths. Now, the way you take 3 conscious breaths is breathing in. When you breathe in, you don't leave your breath in the chest. You try to bring it all the way down to the diaphragm. If you leave it in the chest, it's compressing breathing, inhalation. Okay, so you inhale and try to bring it all the way to the diaphragm. And let's say your inhalation takes a count of 4. So you inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. If it takes 4, if it takes 5, whatever it takes for you is okay. When you exhale, try to double the count while you exhale. Okay? And you're going to do it 3 times to quiet your mind. Let's go. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep your eyes closed for a moment. I am sure that in the past day, week, month, year, all of us have gone through a situation that has generated anger, fear, guilt. Try to find inside of you the most intense situation that you've had in the past that has generated any of those feelings. You were right, the other person was wrong. It wasn't fair to you. It's not your fault. The moment you found that feeling, you can open your eyes. Has anybody not found that feeling? Good, we have a great group here. Okay, I need you to write it down. Obviously, you're not going to share it with anybody, but write down the feeling that you felt, how you would describe it. Was it anger? We don't need lines, it's for yourself. Was it anger? Was it fear? Was it guilt? What do you need? Spare pen. Sorry. Can you give me some spare pens? Pens for the room. Sorry. Just any pen. Anything. Sorry about that. Write the feeling. That feeling is an emotion. Make sure that what you're writing is really what you felt. It's not about whose fault was it. It's not about who did what. It's the feeling, the plain feeling, the block. If any of you has an idea of where that comes from, why do you feel that? When you feel that, it's not that person's fault. It's not the situation's fault. It comes from programming. It comes from somewhere deep down inside of us. If any of you knows where it comes from, you write it down too. If you don't know where it comes from, by the end of the session, we might be able to. Okay? Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about me, just to tell you after this slide that it's not at all about us, it's not about me, but right now I'm going to do a little bit of me, myself, and I, so that you understand why I'm doing this talk. I've been a conscious creator all my life. I'm not going to describe my life here. The ones who came to the presentation I did in March know it, because I did a video on what happened throughout my life. If you saw it in a movie, you would think that the script was way too crazy. You wouldn't imagine it was real. Everything I decided I was going to do in my life, I've done it. Everything I decided I was going to get in my life, I got it. Even when I said that I was going to go to the startup weekend here a couple of weeks ago, I mean, I'm not a millennial. I wasn't born with a computer. What am I going to do with all those millennials? And I said, okay, let me go there. Let me see if I manage. And the first day I say, oh my God, I went through the first round. And so I went home, I meditated. You will understand the principle of meditation and how it works. I meditated, and I said, hey, if I went to the first round, let me see if I can get to the next round. And second day, I said, oh my God, this is amazing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get an award. What the hell? I'm 54. They're all millennials and they know everything. I'm going to get an award. And I didn't get an award. I got 2 awards. I said, shit. I mean, you can do anything you want with your life. You really have the power. We all have the power to do anything we want. The way I was doing it and the way I got everything I got, except for this little person who's here, who's my daughter, that was good conscious creator. For the rest, it's a very, very messy conscious creator. I'm a conscious creator, but I've been very messy. Why have I been very messy? Because to really be a conscious creator, you have to do it for the right reasons. So you can say, I want this, but you really have to do it for the right reasons. There has to be, you know, we've all heard about people who won lottery, and they win lottery, and they, no matter how many millions they win, 3 years, 4 years down the line, they're back to where they were, or worse. Many of them commit suicide because they can't believe that they won so much money and they lost everything. They did materialize winning the lottery. Obviously, they visualized it and they made it. But if you do it for the wrong reasons, it's very messy. And not only is it messy, but you start feeling feelings of guilt, of why am I not capable if I was able to get there? Why am I not capable to get all the way to where I want to get? Or why am I not capable of doing all the way what I want to do? Because I was messy. And this, I'm going to talk a lot about about my flaws and myself. Why? Because many of those flaws, I don't have them anymore. Now you laugh. They're not going to believe me. Many of those flaws, I don't have them anymore. But mainly the reason why I love sharing, it's so that you understand that there's no problem with sharing. We were educated thinking that we should not share, that some things are really private. If we don't share, we can't help people around us grow. So I'm going to share quite a few things. What I do want you to know is that I did things for the wrong reason. I had no real purpose. I did it from a place of lack, from a place of insecurity, trying to prove to others my worth. And no reason why. You know, the ones who are really in the corporate world or linked to the corporate world, they know the 5 why analysis that's in many companies all over the world. The 5 why analysis is asking why when you have a problem, and then when you get the answer to the first why, asking why again related to that answer. So I want to get married. Why do you want to get married? Because I want to have a kid. Why do you want to have a kid? Because by the time you get to the 3rd why, believe me, it's very difficult to do the other 2 whys. Very difficult. If you manage to go through 5 whys, and I rarely manage to go through 5 whys still at this point, you have the answer of why you're doing things. Even a simple thing like getting married, which is, I'm not going to say a simple thing, I've been divorced I don't know how many times, so let me just say a frequent thing like getting married or finding a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever. If you don't know why you want it, if you don't know what you want to bring into the relationship, if you don't answer those whys, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And it's going to be a mess. It doesn't mean it's going to end up in a divorce. It means it's going to be a mess. It means that you're never going to be happy. Anything that's a mess, you're not happy. If you're happy, it's not a mess. So, you know, like I said, I always said that I had no fear of being judged. I always said I didn't care about what people thought about me. I realized that's bullshit. Almost all of us have the fear of rejection. And if we have the fear of rejection, we have the fear of being judged. We say we don't deserve to be loved. We can say that, you know, we have the fear of rejection. More often than not, when I talk about fears, when I talk about anger, or when I talk about guilt, people will listen to me and will say, I don't feel that. Give yourself 5 minutes of analyzing that I don't feel that, and you will see that you feel it. I've said it. I don't feel that. I don't have that fear. No, because I don't care about what people really think about me, because I'm strong, because I am this, because I am that. You do care. You do care. And the sooner you accept that you care, the faster you will be able to start changing the way you act towards others. So we're going to set up a scaffold because we're going to talk about an entanglement of concepts. Some of the concepts are going to be spiritual concepts. Now, I'm going to bring it back to myself again. I was born with a religion. I'm a non-believer right now, and I've been a non-believer for many years. I come from a scientific background, and scientific people usually, we are non-believers. I mean, 99% of the people I know in my environment are non-believers. I was a dentist for 30 years, that's a parenthesis, and a year ago I decided to leave my profession because I was tired of it, and obviously, like everything else, I did what I decided I was going to do. So we can talk about source, we can talk about the divine, we can talk about the universe. It's the same concept. If I say the divine, it doesn't mean that you have to be a believer, that it has to be Jesus Christ, that it has to be Buddha. It doesn't at all. It's just saying that there's something superior above us that rules the universe. When we talk about consciousness, and we're going to talk a lot about consciousness, consciousness is awareness by the mind of itself and the world. That's basically the most global definition of consciousness you can find. Meaning that if you look at the definition, you have two levels of consciousness. You have I consciousness, and you have world consciousness, which can also be called one consciousness. I consciousness is me, myself, and I. Those initial, you get a hunch, it's coming from here. It's never coming from here. Hunches don't come from here. This is the brain. Hunches come from here. So the cerebellum is very, very important. And the limbic system, which has one structure that's called the amygdala, is very important too. The limbic system is the chemistry, is the part that directs the chemistry of our body. And the chemistry of our body are our emotions, our feelings. Thoughts are to the brain what emotions are to the body. So a thought in your brain is going to generate an emotion. That emotion is going to come from here, and the limbic system is going to give the order to your body to segregate chemicals that are going to make you feel that feeling of fears, those butterflies in your stomach, the feeling of love, the shaking, the wanting to faint, the wanting to puke because you're afraid or because something happened or because all those things are chemical reactions in your body that are being commanded by the limbic system. So the limbic system is very important. The amygdala is where the fear is located. In rats, they go with a needle to the amygdala, they kill the amygdala, and those rats see a cat and they go after the cat instead of running away from the cat. So they forget about the fear. So what happens once you understand this? If you take this back to us, if you bring it back to us, you have to understand that every single emotion, and what you wrote down in that paper, every single emotion we have is imprinted, is recorded in our memory, but is recorded in our body through the limbic system since we were kids. We felt an emotion, we segregated some hormones, and that created an imprint in our body. And that imprint is there. And when it's a learned process through childhood, you become almost addicted to that feeling, to that sensation, hormonal sensation. So when your parents, for example, treat you in a certain way when you're a kid, and the way they treat you generates the segregation of those hormones, whatever it is, at the beginning it's fear, and it's always fear. But as you go forward, you get more and more used to that feeling, to such an extent that when you become an adult and you're not with your parents anymore, but you need to feel it. You need to feel it because it's addiction. You're addicted to that chemical that your body has been segregating for so many years. So you will look for situations, you will reproduce situations that will make you segregate those chemicals. So that makes you if you really catch this concept, you will understand why you have to nail your emotions. Those emotions that we write down, you have to nail them, you have to take them out, you have to analyze them, and you have to control them. But the only way to do this, people say, some coaches say, oh, it's very easy to change, you just have to do this. It's not easy at all. It's not easy because you have to unlearn all those processes that were imprinted in your chemical system, in your limbic system, and therefore in your body and in your brain. You have to unlearn everything so that you don't keep looking for those situations. And that's a lot of work. Something else, and we finish the technicalities. Brain waves. We have our thoughts, our emotions, and behaviors. They all generate brain waves. We have different types of brain waves. I'm not going to go into much detail. 99% of the time we're here, we're in beta. The moment we quiet our mind, like we did at the beginning, you go very rapidly into alpha. From alpha, you go to theta. This is where babies are. This is where little kids usually are. This is where we are 99% of the time, except when we sleep. And some people sleep in beta. There are different levels of beta. There are very bad beta. There are better beta. So it doesn't matter. What I want you to understand is that it's waves. The word waves. Brain waves. So they are waves. And what I want you to understand is that through meditation, we go to alpha. And alpha is the pathway. Alpha is the pathway of meditation. Meditation starts in alpha. So what we have to learn is to go to alpha, to really quiet our mind, to become aware of our feelings, and to bring them out and to analyze them. For as long as we remain in here, forget it. 99% of the coaching that you see out there is coaching done with the brain, with the frontal lobes in beta. You can't. I've done it. I've tried for many, many years. And the moment you stop thinking about it, the natural attitude comes back. And the natural Carolina is back in 5 seconds. All you have to do is push that button and it comes back. So you have to really deprogram yourself. For that you need meditation, and for that you need to be in alpha. The mind, different between the brain and the mind. The brain is anatomical structure, and the mind is a toolbox. And the mind includes consciousness. We're going to see a video that I will stop the moment it's, I think you've had enough. It's a 5-minute video. We're going to talk about the law of attraction, and I want you to understand that, again, the law of attraction, from my perspective, and from many perspectives, but the way I see it, I could not believe in this until I really understood the science behind the law of attraction. And this is the science behind the law of attraction. Hello? isn't it playing, Kashi?
Can you click it?
Can I what?
Click the play button.
Here?
No.
Hashtag that's right.
Is it okay, guys? I guess it's okay.
Here we are, granddaddy of all quantum weirdness, the infamous double slit experiment. To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter, act. If we randomly shoot a small object, say a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit. Now, if we add a second slit, we would expect to see a second band duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out.
Oops, sorry. I wanted to make it bigger. Shit. Messed up. See, I told you I was a messy creator.
I guess.
And here we are, the granddaddy of all plate in lines slit. The line of brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now, there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So, when we throw things, that is, matter, through two slits, we get this. Two bands of
So
hit.
just look at this.
And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum physics. An electron is a tiny, tiny bit of matter, like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream through one slit. It behaves just like the marble, a single band. So, if we shoot these tiny bits through two slits, we should get, like the marbles, two bands. What? An interference pattern. We fired electrons, tiny bits of matter through. But we get a pattern like waves, not like little marbles. How? How could pieces of matter create an interference pattern like a wave? It doesn't make sense. But physicists are clever. They thought maybe those little balls are bouncing off each other and creating that pattern. So they decide to shoot electrons through one at a time. There is no way they can interfere with each other. But after an hour of this, the same interference pattern is seen to emerge. The conclusion is inescapable. The single electron leaves as a particle, becomes a wave of potentials, goes through both slits, and interferes with itself to hit the wall like a particle. But mathematically, it's even stranger. It goes through both slits and it goes through neither. And it goes through just one and it goes through just the other. All of these possibilities are in superposition with each other. But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided to peek and see which slit actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one.
This is the most important part of it.
Went through and let it fly. But the quantum world is far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of two bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring observer have to do with any of this? The observer collapsed the wave function simply by observing.
So what this goes to prove is that, and the way they really found this out was because they were doing tests in a lab. We're talking about not even 30 years ago. So this is not like a long time ago. They were doing tests in a lab, and they were getting the results of the waves, you know, the interference pattern throughout the day. And one day they said, let us run the test during the night, and we leave the lab. And they ran the test through the night with nobody observing. And when they came back in the morning, they didn't have an interference pattern. They had a particle pattern. And that's where they realized that by observing, reality was changing. Now, everything in nature is made of electrons, everything. When we are sending a wave of a thought, when you think it's a coincidence, those are waves of thoughts. We said before, thoughts are waves. Those are electrons that are being sent. So everything you see, by looking at it and by changing the way you look at it, you can change the reality that you're looking at. It's not esoteric, it's not spiritual, it's not religious, it's quantum physics. Einstein knew that there was something that he couldn't pinpoint. He kept saying it. There's something that doesn't make sense. If you look at theories and questions that Einstein was asking himself, he's one of those people that I'm passionate about, you will see that he knew there was something, but he couldn't pinpoint it. And in the end, the truth is that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's what you have to use as the core of what should be driving your life. In Princeton University, they discovered that our minds, our intent, can alter the outcome of an event. And we're talking about a university. We're not talking about a ritualistic or religious or whatever. We're talking about a very serious university.
Sorry, Caroline, can you please repeat that?
Princeton University stated that our minds and our intent can alter the outcome of events. We can alter the outcome of events. You know, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me today. This is not to feel sorry or anything, because for whatever reason, I'm not feeling sad. There is this person that I loved as much as a father. You know, I had the parents I had, and because I had the parents I had, I decided one day that I had to choose my own parents. So I chose a father and a mother, and they both live in Spain. And to me, you know, they were like my father and my mother at many levels. And the father, I haven't spoken to him for a year. And, you know, it's some people you don't need to be talking to them every day to tell them you love them or whatever. You know, when I go to Spain, I see them if I can, and if not, I don't see them, and it's okay. And yesterday morning, I woke up and I said, my God, I have to send them a message. I haven't spoken with them for a year. It was 7 o'clock here, which is midnight in Spain. And I sent his wife a message saying, how are you? How is Yuda, your husband, blah, 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 blah. And she doesn't answer. And this morning when I wake up, I get a message from one of his sons saying that his father died 2 hours after I sent the message. Obviously, there's something there. He died 2 hours after I sent a message. I haven't spoken with him for a year. I haven't communicated with them for a year. And those are synchronicities that happen Number one, when you're not too much in eye consciousness. And number two, when you really have your mind set to the fact that, you know, you control your own reality. So if we keep talking about the law of attraction, the law of attraction is based on 3 principles. Ask, believe, and receive. And really, whether it's the law of attraction as such or conscious creators from a spiritual standpoint, they all go in the same direction. If you want to do conscious creator, you have to know that if you were brought up saying that money doesn't grow on trees, you have to get rid of that thought. If you grew up thinking that you have to sweat to gain, if there's no sweat, there's no gain, or if there's no pain, there's no gain, that's big BS. For as long as you believe it, that will be your life. If you really believe that you have to sweat to get there, you will have to sweat to get there. And if you think that money doesn't grow on trees, money will not grow on trees. If you believe that money comes easy, money will come easy. Believe me. Believe me. I've been doing it for 5 years, and I haven't done it for the previous years. And the difference is huge. You don't need to be rowing against the current. If you see that it doesn't flow, change directions. Let go, whatever you're doing, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a business, whatever it is. If you see that you're struggling, something is wrong. Don't keep struggling. That's not the way how it should work. And the moment you understand it, you really live in a beautiful state. And when I mean a beautiful state, you live in calmness, in a very calm state. But you have to really understand that it works. It works. Now, there is a reason why it doesn't work consistently and why you can become a messy, constant, conscious creator like I've been, and that's the emotions. The asking is easy. I want $1 million house. So that's very easy. You can say, I want $1 million house. You can visualize it, you can draw it, and you can put it in front of your bathroom mirror and look at it every single morning. Believing it is a little bit harder already, because if thoughts are waves, what can we generate that is stronger energetically than a thought? Wake up. See, everybody was sleeping. Shit. Yeah. Except Catherine. Yeah. What thoughts generate energy, generate electrons? What generates more energy? Just imagine that it's an electrical cable. What generates more energy than a thought? The emotion.
A feeling.
The emotion, the feeling. And just right now, just imagine, I'm telling you, God, you just won lottery. You just won lottery. I know it. I got an SMS. You just won lottery. I mean, if you really try to feel the emotion related to the thought that you had, that generates a wave that's huge. So it's not about looking at the visualization and saying, I want $1 million house. Tomorrow morning, I want $1 million house. And tonight before I go to bed, I want $1 million house. No. That's the thought. The moment you ask, it's out there for you. You can be sure that it's out there for you because the universe is like that. Again, I'm a non-believer. The moment you ask, it's out there for you. But if you don't put the emotions into it, if you don't become able to generate that feeling as if you had it before you have it, you will not get there. It will come, but it will come randomly. And the day you generate an emotion that wasn't on purpose for that, but you generated because of something else, then whatever you ask for is coming, but you weren't expecting it, you're beginning to be a messy creator. You want to think and you want to generate the emotion when you want the thing to happen. And believe me, you can go from manifesting things in 3 years to manifesting things in 2 weeks, huge things, to manifesting them in 1 week. I'm talking about huge things. If you learn how to do that exercise. So the emotions are very important. Setting up, generating the emotions are we're not going to listen to whatever they're saying. So that's being ready to receive. Now this is where this whole thing that we're talking about comes. Because being able to receive means that you have to be in a beautiful state of mind. You have to be in a beautiful state. And I know millennials, don't tell me it's not possible to be always in a beautiful state. It is. It is possible to be in a beautiful state. It's more difficult for millennials than it is for our generations. Because of so many, you guys have amazing things, but there's so many flaws that are there because you grew up in the generation that you grew up in, that it's more difficult for you to disconnect from all this digital world to be able to position yourself in the receive mode. But it's possible. So emotions are the end products of our experience, and we have to control our emotions. So this is asking is done, okay? We know what we want, we've asked for it, it's done. We're talking about believing, so generating the emotion, and being, setting up the radio dial to receive. If you have negative thoughts, like the one you wrote down, if you're in negative places, it's going to be very difficult for you to be in the receiving mode, in that beautiful state in which something beautiful can come to you. To give you an example, you want to fall in love. And you're miserable because you don't find someone. And you're miserable because you don't fall in love, because you don't find someone. That guy's an asshole, that girl is blah, 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 whatever. It's you don't fall in love and you're miserable. How the hell do you want to really fall in love if you're miserable? If you really want love to come to your life through somebody else, what do you have to be to really be able to receive it? Same radio dial. Either you're love or forget it. Forget it. You're not getting any love anywhere. You'll be looking for it in the wrong places and you'll be getting the wrong guy or the wrong girl or whatever it is. To receive love, you have to be able to give love. So you have to be in a state of love. And I'm not talking about a religious concept again. I'm not a priest. It's obvious. It's a radio dial thing. You have to be on 84.5 FM. And that's love, so that the person that's going to love you is going to come. Otherwise, you're not going to get the person that is going to love you the way you want to be loved and the way you want to love someone. Because you're not in that. It's very difficult. It's not easy. So whenever a coach says to you, anything is very easy, get up and leave. That's bullshit. It's not easy, but you can do it. You can learn languages. You can learn Bahasa. You are living here in Bali being a digital nomad. I mean, come on, you can do anything. You can do it, but it's not easy. If you want love, you have to be love. If you want to receive a house, you don't have to be a house, obviously, but if you want to receive a house, you really have to define, I want this $1 million house. Why? Remember 5 whys. Why? What are you going to do with it? Give me an answer. Why? I have it. I don't even know why I have it. Do I know why I have it? I have it. Been there, done that. I don't know why. I can't even answer the first why. Yeah, to prove to others. I can answer the first why. Wow, that's a great why. Really got me very far. Okay? So please, get anything you want, but you have to go further. It's not a baby asking for, a kid asking for candy. It's not instant gratification, which is what one of the problems that millennials have, is the instant gratification part. We all have it, but it's the society coming after us, Generation Y is having it a lot. And if it's about instant gratification, that's what it's going to be. Last an instant, and it's gone. Whether it's love, whether it's money, whatever it is. So you have to get out of those thought patterns, you have to control all the negative emotions that you're having. If you find yourself in negative states of anger, fear, guilt, how the hell can you find yourself in a beautiful state of happiness to receive love, money, wealth, abundance? How? It's not possible. And that's one of the problems that I see mainly with all the people that talk about the law of attraction. The law of attraction is I don't know if you guys know The Secret. I know some people here know it well, and many of the people who contributed to the book and the movie, The Secret. If you don't know it, it's a good video to watch. It's a 1-hour movie. But there is one thing that's missing. It's this part. That's more spiritual part. That's a part that I discovered going to India, thanks to Punu again. And that's where I understood where the connection is and where the lack of connection is when it's taught to us. For as long as you're locked into those emotions, for as long as you're feeling that when you wake up in the morning, you can read anything you want. You can visualize anything you want. You're not getting anything. And if you're getting it in the wrong way, at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons. It's not going to be good. It's going to be like winning the lottery when you're not ready and you don't know what to do with the money. So we all have limiting structures that have generated that feeling that you wrote down in that piece of paper. And those limiting structures keep us entangled, totally locked in our past. They come from upbringing. I'm not saying mom and dad, I'm saying mom and dad, I'm saying education, I'm saying schooling, I'm saying society. For as long as the moment you are a baby above 6 months, you start getting huge influences and everything starts messing up. The moment you have a limiting structure, you have no freedom. You lose all your freedom. You lose your sensation of calmness, of peace. One of the feelings that we're going to talk about is anger. We're going to just mention anger, fear, and guilt. Anger, whenever our structures are threatened by life's challenges, the resultant emotion is anger. Whenever we have one of these rigid structures where I've been taught that this is like this, and you see someone pushing the button that makes it different, immediately anger arouses. Immediately anger starts waking up, and one of your limiting structures is being touched. It doesn't mean that you had a terrible upbringing. It doesn't mean that your parents were bad. It doesn't mean that you were beaten up. You have to really look deeper. I'm a parent. We all try to do things the best we can, and we solve problems that were caused by our parents, but we create other problems. We all make mistakes. Parenting is something very difficult, and we create limiting structures around our kids' lives. How is anger defined? You can read this. We're always right, the other person is wrong. The situation is not fair. You're not being fair to me. You're wrong. You're totally wrong. I didn't do that to you. No, because you said that. No, because you're victimizing me. No, that's not real. That's not how it happened. No, you're full of shit. No, because you did this. No, because you said that. No, because my parents did this. No, whatever. It's all anything that falls into this description is anger. Sometimes we don't call it what it is, but it is anger. And the consequence is that you become reactive instead of becoming responsive. Thank you. Thank you. You become reactive instead of becoming responsive. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make the wrong decisions. It's going to be a mess. So if you live with anger, there is no way you can be in a beautiful state. Now, this is to remember this always. This is to make you understand with all these feelings that if you make your mind understand that there are going to be karmic consequences to those actions because of your anger, your mind will stop doing it. Your mind is not stupid. Your mind is not stupid. So the important thing is to educate ourselves, proving to ourselves that every time we do this, there are going to be bad consequences. Let's forget our ego, let's forget our arrogance, and let's say, okay, what are the... You were right, perfect, you were right, but did you really have to go through that process? Did you really have to react that way? Did you really have to say what you said? Did it really get you anywhere? And what are the karmic consequences of everything you've done because of that anger? And more often than not, when we write on a piece of paper a feeling like you guys did at the beginning, if you had to defend, just put yourself in the position of a lawyer and imagine that you have to defend in front of everybody here what you wrote down. You're smiling? Imagine that you have to defend that feeling you put and describe it and say, this is what happened to me, this is what she did, this is what he did, this is why I reacted. How silly would you feel after 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute? Who thinks that you might feel silly trying to defend that feeling? Yeah? Yeah? And yet, you did it. And yet, you were reacting to that. You're still reacting to it, otherwise you wouldn't have remembered it. But we know it's meaningless. And don't forget that that feeling is generating, through your limbic system, chemistry to your body. And that's destroying your body. That chemistry is destroying your body. So the fears. We can have 3 types of fears. The fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of the future. Fear of failure is easy to understand. Fear of future is projection into the future. It's kind of easy to understand. Fear of rejection, sometimes it's not that easy to nail. Some people say, oh, I don't care about people, I'm not tolerant about people anymore, I don't want to mix with people. And we think it's because we are blasé, we don't need anymore, we are superior or whatever. More often than not, it comes from a fear of rejection. When we become clingy in our relationships, demanding, when we meet someone and we become demanding, no, but you're not here, no, but you didn't come, no, but it was my birthday and you didn't, no, but I prepared dinner and you weren't there. That's demanding in a relationship. Usually it's because of fear of rejection. Now, if you try to analyze your reactions at the beginning, you can possibly justify them. I know there is at least 5 sentences where we justify, yes, but this, yes, but this, yes, but this, yes, but this. After those 5 sentences, you will see that all those justifications are bullshit. Still a fear of rejection. So let's stop justifying what we feel. That's not the issue. It's not about justifying what we feel. We have to understand what we feel, and we have to manage to feel differently. It's not about justifying what we feel. We feel the need to justify consistently what we feel. Guilt is terrible. Guilt, who knows what this is? Yeah. I lived in Africa for 5 years. It's full of termite mounds. And here, you don't have to go to Africa in the houses. You see the dust from the termites on the floor that come from the wood on the ceiling. So what do termites? Termites destroy from the inside the wood, and then one day everything crumbles. Yeah, if you live in an apartment or in a house where you walk on the floor and you feel like there's a little bit of dust, like sand, it's termite. It comes from the wood from the ceiling. So yeah, it's all over Bali. There's a lot of termites here. So termites are little ants that destroy the interior of the wood, and then the whole thing crumbles. And we can think that we don't feel guilt, but the moment we cheat on a diet, we're feeling guilt. Because why did I eat that? I didn't have to eat that. I didn't need to do that. You know, guilt is all over, and it's a terrible feeling. and the most useless feeling you can imagine. So how do we dissolve these limiting structures? And this is what I would like you to do. You cannot be self-centered. You cannot be looking at your navel all the time. So you have to move from a state of I consciousness to a state of one consciousness, to a state where the other one matters more than you. And that's not a religious concept, it's not a spiritual concept. Until you do that, you will not be happy. Believe me, it was all about me, myself, and I for more than 45 years. I've been there, I've done it. I got everything and got nowhere. I got everything, but it got me nowhere. And you know, if you're listening to this now, I don't mind at all, but when you're 54 saying that for 45 years, you had everything you asked for, and it got you nowhere, ouch, it hurts. Okay, so you can change that. Instead of being in a state of I consciousness, going to a state of one consciousness. In I consciousness, nothing happens. Struggle, hard work, nothing happens. In one consciousness, we experience love. We really do experience love. And you do fall in love, but you do fall in love in a broader way. And the day you fall in love in a special way, it's very different from when you're in a state of I consciousness, where you get married 4 times and blah, blah, and blah, blah, and blah, blah. And this is point number 4. This is a special one for Halil. We realize that there has to be a purpose bigger than ourselves. For as long as you have 5 whys, the 5 whys, at one point, before you reach the 5th one, it has to go somewhere bigger. You cannot do everything for yourself. Nobody, the universe is not stupid enough to put brilliant people like you all in here so that you would just come and build an application, a mobile application, to have a house, to have a car, and to get married, and to have 2 kids, and blah, 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 blah. There's something more to the world. There's something more to life than all that. All that is great. It's entertainment. It's not a purpose. Unless you find a purpose bigger than yourself, you will never be satisfied with anything you do, with anything you had. I don't know how many people you've met here, but I've met more people, the last one not that long ago, that have had everything they wanted, big companies, successful companies, and making money, and asking themselves, for what? Now what? Now what? And that's because you live from a state of I consciousness. Loving to make the other one happy, whoever the other one is, it doesn't have to be someone you know, is great. Helping other people, making them happy, no, it's so much better than buying yourself a car, believe me. And you don't have to put fuel. It's ideal. It's ideal. The first thing we have to do is change who we are. It's the first thing we have to do. You cannot expect to be the same, act the same, and get a different result. Many people know the definition of insanity from Einstein's perspective is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You can't. If you're doing the same thing, you're going to get the same result. For as long as you're the same person tomorrow, you will be doing the same things. You cannot change, oh, I'm going to change the way I hold my fork. You will go back to the old way of holding your fork. You will go back because you've been doing it for 30 years, for 25 years. You're not going to change the way you hold your fork unless you're learning. You first unlearn how you're holding it, and then you relearn. But you have to go very deeply inside to really be able to do that. And that's where meditation comes in. I had never done a meditation in my life a year ago. The first meditation I ever did was in Punu's meditation class at Yoga Barn. I thought meditation was for people who were high on drugs. Basically, that was the concept from my upbringing about yoga and meditation up to a year ago. And now I'm high on drugs. I mean, I feel like I'm on drugs all the time. I meditate in the morning, I meditate at night, and I'm super happy. I'm high on drugs. So it is for people who are high on drugs. Meditation, what meditation does, it's proven. You will have the bibliography at the end of the presentation, all the books that I use for this combination of scientific and spiritual. But it's been proven scientifically at this point that meditation is one of the only things that can change the patterns in your brain. When I went through medical school, they taught us that the brain was set and the brain could not change. Now they know that it's not true. Through meditation, you can change the neuronal connections. You can disconnect the frontal lobe from the amygdala, meaning that all those emotions can be disconnected and then reconnected, rewired differently if you do it properly. So it can change both the function and the structure of the brain. It helps us gain perspective. The unconscious mind, which is the one we work in through meditation. The moment you leave your beta waves and you're in alpha waves and go through theta waves, you are hitting on your unconscious mind. So you're not working anymore on your frontal lobes. It's the back of your mind working. Now, in meditation, you can do everything. In meditation, you can visualize. You can do really active visualization of things that you want. And you're working on your conscious mind. And your conscious mind that doesn't know the difference between reality and visualization. Therefore, you can generate emotions linked to a reality that hasn't happened yet. And that you can use for your purpose with the law of attraction and become a conscious creator. When thoughts and emotions are altered, your brain is modified, and through meditation, you can break the habit of being yourself, which is basically what it's all about. It's breaking the habit of being yourself. Joe Dispenza is an amazing neuroscientist, osteopath. He has amazing books, great audiobooks. And he says all the time that if you create a new personality, you will be able to create a new personal reality. We have to do three things. We have to know the emotion that caused the suffering. So when you wrote down something on the paper, did you write an emotion or did you write a feeling, a suffering? You have to know what emotion caused that suffering. And the reason these three things, if you really do them, and there's something very important, we're going to do a meditation in 2 seconds, we're almost done. You should not go to bed one day when you had an aggravation, when you had a problem with someone, when you had a feeling that you don't like having. It's not your fault, it's her fault or his fault. I don't care. But you're having a feeling that you don't like how it feels. The moment you have that, one day, you don't go to bed without meditating on it. Don't go to bed without meditating on it. It's like being in a mud bath and going into your white bed sheets to sleep without showering. Try to analyze what happened, why it happened. If you do that work before you go to bed, your subconscious mind is going to work on it all night and is going to help you deprogram yourself. If you just let go, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, you won't do it tomorrow. Because tomorrow you'll be late for work and you have to brush your teeth and you don't have time to meditate. Okay.
Can you explain the difference between suffering and what's the suffering pattern? Because obviously I know the emotion, but what's the example of the suffering?
You have to know, what I say here is that you have to know the emotion that caused the suffering. So you're suffering because of anger, for example, or you're suffering because of guilt, or you're suffering because of fear or jealousy or whatever feeling. So that emotion, that feeling caused you to suffer. Now what you have to identify is the structure that caused it. What is the limiting structure? That's deep down work. I mean, you do need, it's not a 3-minute meditation. The moment you start doing it, you will see. You look at the watch when you start meditating, and you look when you're finished, and you'll see 40 minutes go by, and you'll say, how did I do it? The structure is something in your upbringing, a network, rigid, that was put in you, that's causing that emotion. You have to nail what is in your brain causing you to react when that person is pushing a button. You must not stay at the superficial level of push the button and I'm angry. You're not angry because he or she pushed a button. You're angry because there's a pattern. You have to go back and try to find that pattern. It's a lot of work, but it can be done. But it's really the only way, and I found it so easy to do, is through meditation. You can do it. Even if you can't guide yourself through meditation at the beginning, you look on YouTube, depending on the feelings. For some meditations, they are not all cool. But you have to look for some meditations that are guided meditations that help you go inside and nail the feeling. That helps.
Can you give an example of the structure?
Yeah. I was going to meet someone for dinner, and they canceled on me. And I'm really pissed, because it's the third time they cancel on me. And I'm angry. It's not fair. It's rude. I didn't make plans because of all those justifications. That's the emotion that I'm feeling because of the button pushed. The limiting structure is my fear of rejection. That comes from childhood. Because when I was a child, we were 3 siblings, and my parents were loving one and rejecting 2, and loving one and rejecting 2. So Monday they were loving me and rejecting my other brothers. Tuesday they were loving the other one and rejecting us too. So you would wake up every morning wondering who would be the loved one today and who would be the rejected one. They were dividing to be powerful, but it created a sensation, a sentiment, a feeling of rejection. So that's the structure. The structure is the fear of rejection. And once you define the structure, you can even try to nail where it comes from. Look inside, look into your past, and try to find where that structure was created, because you weren't born with it. You were born free and with movement, and all the structures appeared afterwards.
One question. Doesn't this allow us to become accepting of all issues and really take the onus on us, or the burden on us, to understand why we react the way we do, rather than, I mean, it may not be the other person's fault, but you don't always have to take the burden on yourself and try to rationalize why.
The moment you're using the word burden, you already, let me use this, have a problem. It's not a burden. It shouldn't be a burden. You want to be in a beautiful state. So what a person is doing to you, what I am doing to you, is my problem. It's not yours. It should never be yours. What I am saying about you to others, it's my problem. It should never be yours. It's me doing it. Why should it become your problem? And yet, because of those fears, because of those feelings, you turn it into your problem. You should not. It's not that I don't care about anybody else, but I should not react. Why am I reacting to that? It's not saying it's all our fault. Not at all. You can be an SOB, and I will say this guy is an SOB, and I will think this guy is an SOB. But I will not react to you pushing my buttons. It's not about, it's about not letting your actions change who you are. It's about me becoming the person I want to be, not the person you're causing me to become.
I guess to rephrase my question is it, are we always forgiving the person, or it has nothing to do with forgiveness?
I mean, yeah, you can take it to that level and say it's about forgiving, but at this point, it has nothing to do with forgiveness. It's not about forgiving. It's about not letting that situation affect you and change your reactions, change your state of peace and calmness where you like to live, to be happy. If you want to be happy, if you want to be full of joy, if you want to be calm, if you want to be at peace, that's something you create. You should not let me alter that state. But it doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't mean that you're allowing me to whatever. On the contrary, usually the people who do that to you, what's going to happen, usually who do that to you, what's going to happen is that because you're not reacting, they're even more angry and more thing. And what's happening to this guy? He's too calm, he's too happy, he's too peaceful, he's not reacting. So you're even creating more, that's cool. That's super cool. When you see that you're in a calm state and you see the other person jumping, it's like, that's the biggest pleasure. Really, it is. But it's, you understand? It's not about forgiving. It's not about forgiving. If you're an SOB for me, with me, I have no reason to forgive you. I have no reason to think where you come from, your parents, whatever. No. All I'm doing is not reacting. And if I did react, maybe I didn't react with you, but I felt inside that rage. I go at night and I meditate on it to understand, okay, I manage. The first moment was pause, not reacting. Fine, I did it well. But still, I felt the feeling. I felt the emotion. I repressed it. So I don't go to bed without analyzing why. So that I manage at some point to stop feeling that. It's a deep work. It's a deep work.
Sorry, what is that?
Son of a bitch. It's a scientific concept. It's not a spiritual concept. Yeah. Okay, so meditation, which is what we're going to do right after this slide, is going to help you have focus, have peace in your mind, be calm. It should allow you an effortless observation of what happened today. So we're going to assume that what happened today is that feeling that you wrote down and that person who pissed you off or whatever. And meditation is going to allow you an effortless observation. And we're going to go through 3 phases in this meditation. The first one is pausing through the breath. What we did at the beginning, we're going to take 3 conscious breaths and we're going to pause and we're going to calm down, which is something that I recommend when somebody pisses you off also. You can do a very short meditation. You run to the bathroom. You can stop right there and meditate. So you run to the bathroom and you do a pause meditation. It's 3 minutes. And you come back so that you don't react until you're able to control that easier, in an easier way. So we're first going to pause. We are then going to recognize that feeling that we wrote down. We have to recognize it. We have to really identify it, really think of the feeling, take as if it was a Muppet or a puppet, and just take it apart. Really analyze the emotion. And the third phase, we are going to try to see the trajectory of that emotion. So try to see, is that emotion, do I think that it's coming from something in my past? or do I think it's because of a fear of the future? Or is it something in the present? Is it something that's really happening in the present? When we inhale, we inhale with our diaphragm. Let's say 4 or 5 seconds inhalation, and exhalation, the double. Okay? It's going to be about not more than 4 minutes. We're going to have a music in the background. That's a little hello to Puno. It's Puno singing in the background. You didn't know this, huh? So please close your eyes. Why, please, the sound, can't we? The sound is here, right?
Yeah. No, it's there. So you have to turn it on, like follow up from there. So it's not already.
No, it's here. Sound is here. Is it coming out there?
I don't know how to connect it.
You don't know? Okay, it's okay.
But actually, it's.
Do you have the speaker?
So, speaker.
No, he has. He brought me a speaker.
Okay.
Give me See, everything happens for a reason. Is it Bluetooth? Yeah. How do we? Oh, okay. This one, I guess. Huh? Oh. Oh, here it is. Yeah.
Maybe you can use this one.
Oh, you're right. No, but that's on the ring. This one? Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Sometimes if you stop and play again, it connects.
Device is ready now. Let's see. Okay, never mind. Let me just. Ah. Oh no, not Adele, please. No, huh? Okay, never mind. Okay, close your eyes. 3 conscious breaths. deep inhalation to the diaphragm.
Sachidananda Parabrahma.
If your mind wanders, go back to your breath.
Purushottama Paramatma Shri Bhagavati
Counting to make sure you don't wander.
Sameta Shri Bhagavati Namaha. Sachidananda Parabrahma Purushottama
Open your heart.
Paramatma
Think about that emotion.
Shri Bhagavati Sameta Shri
Think about the situation that caused the emotion.
Namaha.
Remember how it made you feel. Why, after all this time,
Sachidananda
it still makes you feel the way it does?
Purushottama Paramatma Shri Bhagavati Sameta.
Is it fair to you?
Shri Bhagavati Namaha.
Is it fair to the other person?
Sachidananda Parabrahma
so that everybody claps. No, huh? It's never worth it. Huh? Okay, that's basically it. My conclusion is that I found out that through meditation, you can correct the path much faster than reading tons of books and going to tons of conferences. I've been there, I've done that. What meditation and understanding the chemistry and the entanglement of all these things does is much more efficient and much faster. And when you meditate, if you meditate in the morning, if you wake up early enough to have that hour for yourself, you will feel so much happier. You realize that you don't need to be in love with one person to be in love with the world, and that's pretty cool. Thank you.